Hey, what's going on, everybody? So, here today to talk to you about something that's so important and that can be very convicting to many of you possibly, which is truth. Now, truth can sometimes be uncomfortable. It can be enlightening. It can be empowering. It can be a number of things. It just really depends on how you receive it. And also, in some ways, how it's delivered as well. I can tell you, I remember at a point in time in my life, maybe late 20s, early 30s, maybe it was even before then. I don't really remember. I kept on seeing these verses pop up. And when I say pop up, I'm talking about like daily devotionals and, just various other things. Or even when I was in Bible study, we would just happen to talk about a verse, nothing by mistake, by the way. It was all God trying to speak to me in various ways that related to the language that I was using at a point in time. Because I'll tell y'all, even especially for those that are familiar with me, maybe you have not noticed, I don't use foul language. I don't cuss. And it's just one of those things to where there was a truth that constantly kept on convicting me. And where it came from in one of the verses was Ephesians 4:29, where it talks about, do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouths, but only what is helpful for building others up according to their needs, that it may benefit those who listen. And unwholesome talk can take on a handful of meanings, but one of them is cussing. Another is gossip as well. But it's just one of those things to where I took it to heart, because there's other verses in the Bible that talk about cussing, taking the Lord's name in vain and various other things. And I took it to heart and I was like, you know what? Even though the change didn't happen immediately, I was like, I got to get this out of me. I got to stop using this type of language. And it was a truth that convicted me for a while before I actually changed it. And once I changed it, I could see what God was doing in my life. I could see what I was becoming in the walk of Christ. That I was able to more clearly communicate in a lot of ways, but more importantly, the way that stood above it all was how I was talking to my relationship with God, how I was exchanging with others in a way that glorifies and honors God. That started to take shape in a whole nother way. And my point is that when we deal with the truths in our lives, the root causes of things in our life, that's where real growth, the real observation and things that you may notice as far as what God is shaping you and molding you into on a day-to-day basis, based off of how you're choosing to act and interact with others. And truth is a huge part of that. I'll give you another example. I remember when I worked in one place, and before this experience of working in this place, I recall taking a statistics class. And the statistics teacher, he was good. He was a real good teacher. He was probably one of the better professors that I had, throughout the time that I went to college. And he taught in a way, and I really appreciated this. He taught in a way to where he connected what we were learning to real life situations that were applicable, because most of the people in the room were either young adults or, were career level adults with X amount of years of experience, in their hip pocket. And the way he talked to statistics showed me a lot. And one of the roles that I had included some data interpretation, a lot of it, really. And when you look at a lot of that data and you understand a lot of different things when it comes to how programs, projects, and even this from a basic level, how things work, from to the lowest level to the biggest level, to the point where you're inputting a lot of things to the point to where it affects your output, things of that nature. And it was just one of those things where me and others started noticing, some of the things that were happening were a reflection of, just almost band-aids, very symptomatic as far as what we were tending to based off of the data and really honestly, what they were leveraging as kind of the truth that they were basing their decisions off of, but we collectively were moving forward off of decisions with. And it was just one of those things I was just like, I see some areas, and others were looking at this as well, where there's some data integrity and needs to be addressed. And some of the responses you would get in some of those situations is that, oh, we don't have enough time to do that, this, that, and the fourth. And I'm just like, well, we're never going to get to what we're trying to do unless if we deal with those truths, unless we take the time to do that. And I was like, here's the thing, because I was deep in it. I was like, there are other examples of how organizations, when they dealt with these things appropriately, handled the burden of truth, so to speak, in those different situations, that freed up more time, more resources down the line. And I was like, so the immediate time may feel like it's burdensome and trying, but when you really even go further into the data of what we're spending time on, our efficiency and what we're doing on a day-to-day basis, we're spending more time with these band-aids and symptoms than we are if we would have got it right the first time. And getting it right the first time doesn't mean that it's, completely great in all respects. It still needs work, but you're never going to get to what some organizations see as optimization unless if you, in a true sense anyway, you're never going to get to optimization in a true sense if you don't change the behaviors at the root level. If you don't make sure what is going into the input is happening as it should at all levels. But definitely, it was just one of those things to where, when we mention this, and then we see how it's starting to feed things and how we start to really put more care around the observation standpoint of what we're doing at all levels, and making sure we do that right, making sure there's a good sense of accountability, making sure there's a good sense of opportunity for creativity and improvement, to do that at all levels, and to make sure voices and things are heard, created a healthy environment for truth to exist. And the reason why I bring these two examples in different variety up is that my point is that you will not ever actualize the best, so to speak, of anything, or the highest level that a person can achieve, so to speak. And I don't even know if the highest level really exists. I think you can always continue to grow and improve upon something as long as it's reasonable and necessary. But you're never going to see that happen in the best possible way if you're not valuing what's important in the most fundamental way, is what I'm getting at. So this is where it comes down to it, because truth is so important. Our word talked about truth, the truth in the word, the truth from our source in God. And this is what it says in Psalm 119, 160. Thy word is true from beginning, and every one of thy righteous judgments endureth forever. Now this is a whole nother level of truth. Nonetheless, still convicting, still at the foundation, builds us up to be the best versions of ourselves as we continue to grow, as we continue to navigate through life. It is one of those things to where in the Word is truth. That's where you go. Hey, this person writes this. Good. There may be some motivational stuff for it. Points back to Word, gives you a different example of however somebody else lived. Fine. Video says something else. Good. Helps you to get and stay in the right direction. Now, the one thing about it though, is that when we don't like the truth, when the truth doesn't suit the way we want to be, it takes too much time, as I referenced in that one example. It isn't the way I want to be when I referenced the fact that, I was talking about cussing. Truth convicting us is not meant to always be a comfortable thing. It's meant to be a thing that protects something that is very important. That is your walk with Christ. That is even more so your salvation. We can repent. We can ask for forgiveness in that right. While if we don't come to terms and deal with the things that are truths that we prefer not to face, or we say sometimes for some of us, I'll get to that later, or I'm just not choosing to deal with that. I'm just going to live my life. The interesting thing about truth, at least from my experiences, I know some other people have said this too, is that it always comes around to find you again. It always shows up in some way again, for the most part. So, if you spend more time running from truth than facing truth, you're going to be running from truth your whole life. Or ignoring it, or trying to shove it away and hope that it's not going to peek out and convict you of something that you're doing or a way that you're living. But I'll tell you another thing. When you live with truth, when you work to make yourself better from truth and understand it as best as you can and have your full awareness of it. Talk about peace and joy. When you operate with truth, there's a lot of peace that comes from that in itself. So what I'm telling you all, and I'm praying over you all for, is that you not just come to terms with your truth, but you do what you need to do to make sure your truth isn't your burden. God bless.